in a time, in a polarized time, where it seems there is very little basis for a politics of the common good. And one of the most damaging features of the polarization is that people only listen to opinions that reinforce what they already believe. Philosophy prompts us to reflect critically on our own assumptions and convictions. And that's true of us as individuals, figuring out what we really believe in. It's also true of us as citizens, who often disagree about the meaning of the common good. We disagree about this or that policy. Philosophy examines assumptions, fundamental assumptions, about right and wrong, about justice and injustice, about what makes for a good life. So we need to teach the art of political argument, including the art of listening, which is actually a very important civic skill, the art of listening, not just hearing what other people have to say, but understanding the reasons and the principles behind the opinions, especially those with whom we disagree. And I think part of what makes philosophy exciting and inspiring is that it's about the world in which we live. And the arguments that we have and the conclusions that we reach make a difference in the way we act in the world as individuals, but also, in many cases, collectively. Genuine democratic dialogue and discourse is a lost art. It's a lost art because people have lost faith in even the possibility of having discussions with people who disagree with them. And this, I think, is one of the reasons why the public discourse of democratic societies around the world now seems so empty, so hollow. We almost fear engaging with our fellow citizens on big questions about justice and citizenship and the common good, because we fear we'll disagree. I think we need to overcome this reluctance to bring big ethical questions into the public square. Now, the only way to do that successfully is to cultivate certain habits and norms of civility and respect so that those dialogues can be fruitful, can go well. And this is the task of civic education. I think our educational institutions need to play a big role in creating these norms and habits of civil dialogue.
Whether those debates have to do with human dignity and the integrity of the body and the human person, or whether those debates have to do with the meaning and purpose of health and of education and of journalism and of law. What are the questions that we as democratic societies need to debate in order to revitalize democratic life? The first is, how can we keep markets in their proper place? How can we figure out where markets serve the public good and where they don't belong? Why not apply the full market logic of the Chicago Boys and have a free market in votes? Many people don't vote in elections. Why not let them choose for themselves whether to sell their votes to people who want those votes? And here's the second question. How can we do that if the answer to that question depends on controversial ethical questions about how to value social and civic goods? How can we find our way to a public discourse that is more open than we have now to moral questions and, for some, even spiritual questions? How can we find our way to a reasoned public debate with civility and mutual respect, but a reasoned public debate about contested ethical questions? And how can we, for the sake of civility, cultivate the art of listening? Listening for the reasons and the principles and the moral convictions of those with whom we disagree. That's not an easy thing to do. But unless we figure out a way to do it, we're not going to be able to find a way to keep markets in their place. We need to cultivate this more demanding kind of citizenship. We need institutions within civil society and within local, decentralized forms of political community that can give people practice in governing and reasoning and arguing, so that the only politics is not at the national level, but that national politics arises from debates and arguments and habits that are learned, civic habits that are learned in smaller places.